Hi, and welcome to the Memoir channel. Today I'm going to be speaking with Alison Ripley Cubitt about her memoir, Castles in the Air, a family memoir of love and loss. So I'm curious what a family memoir is. I'm looking forward to knowing more about this. So welcome to the Memoir channel, and hi Alison, how are you today?
Oh, Nikki, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much. And
You're very
I'm speaking
welcome.
to you from a very warm Melbourne evening.
Oh, you're lucky. I'm in a pretty cold Portugal morning.
Oh,
That's amazing. We're talking through time and space. Isn't it
oh,
bizarre?
it's fantastic. It is amazing. Yeah.
So I know you've written a few books, right? But today we're going to be talking about Castles in the Air, the family memoir.
Yes.
And so maybe you could tell us why why did you write this memoir?
Okay. So I was unpacking from yet another long haul move in 2011,
Hmm.
and I finally got time to sit down and read my mum's letters and diaries. She passed away in the early 1990s.
Hmm.
And finally, I had a chance to read all this material. And within Mum's letters and diaries, I found the most incredible material. And her legacy, I went to film school.
So you said you went to film school because
Yes,
you
with my
found
mum's legacy.
and
Yeah.
and you went to film school because you wanted to make this into a film. Everything that you
Um,
found.
uh, yes, but I was too scared to turn it into what it should have been, which was non-narrative memoir. So what I did was I made a fiction film, and the
Mhm.
themes were, it was about mothers, daughters, secrets, lies, and longing. And that film was commissioned by a European production company, and it was broadcast on Polish television.
Fantastic. Well done. That's pretty huge to just say, I'm going to make a film and off you go, and you actually did it.
Well, it took 7 years,
I think they always
but
do.
they always do.
Yeah.
But I'd also written a short story with
Hmm.
very similar themes, and that was published in a anthology by a small press. So when I started reading the diaries, I realized, wow, the truth is going to be better than the fiction. And the background to the diaries are that in 1942, my grandfather encouraged my mother to write a diary because
Hmm.
she was 15-year-old schoolgirl, and she was on her way to being evacuated from Ceylon in 1942, which had
Hmm.
just been bombed. And she was to be evacuated to Mombasa, which was in East Africa.
Hmm.
Now, yeah. And in order to give her something to do, he suggested that she document the experience.
Wow.
And that's how the diaries started from there. So on her voyage, the journeys were very long and convoluted because they had to go in convoys, and they
Hmm.
could never go in a straight line because they were constantly followed by submarines and enemy aircraft. And she was a child in Malaya in 1941, one of the last of her peers at boarding school
Hmm.
to complete her GCSE O levels. All the other girls had been evacuated and sent home, but the nuns were very forward thinking because they were predicting what was maybe going to happen. So she was allowed to finish some form of education.
Wow.
So, so that's the context of
So,
the diaries.
she was one of the last sort of group that were being evacuated. Because she
Yes.
sounds like she stayed quite long till it was getting really, really hairy. Yeah.
Well, she did, and I could not understand why they moved around so much, and it took me 6 months to find out. Um, and I looked in all the public domain records for my grandfather's service record,
Hmm.
and it didn't exist. and it wasn't in the public domain at all. It was in the archives of a building called GCHQ, which is the government spying agency in Cheltenham in England. And if your viewers want to find out how I got that information, I'm afraid they're going to have to read the book.
Okay.
So but, I mean, in the context of all this, incredible I have these diaries.
It's incredible that you managed to find out the information, because I'm sure that was not easy to hunt down those records and go in.
It was a chance encounter with someone who worked in that signals intelligence industry.
Wow.
That's how I did it.
That's remarkable.
Completely random encounter.
So you had made the film, and then you decided,
yeah.
hang on, I would actually like to write this, because now you've got a deeper insight into her actual thoughts and feelings. And is that
absolutely
right?
So I'm able to go, into the context and into the era, realizing that I've got to write it down, but I had to find a way of putting myself into it, and that was the thing that took forever.
Right. So you sort of wrote
for me to follow through.
Your memoir is about you making the film about your mom, right? Yeah.
It's more about my relationship with my mother, and a story, an experience I had when I was 8. I never understood. It was unresolved, and that's how I put myself into the book.
Okay. How old were you when your mother passed away?
I was in my early 30s.
Oh, so you were pretty young still, yeah. It's quite difficult to lose your mom. I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, you said it took you 7 years to make the film, and then it took you how long to do the book?
2 years. And how I did it was I transcribed the letters and the diaries. And there was such a lot of repetition that I cut and I cut and I cut.
Yeah.
And then I worked a story through with me in it. And then I sent that to my developmental editor, who was there to look at the way I was structuring it and the story.
Perfect. And then sorry. And then how did you publish once you had written it?
I self-published. I'd sent it to 2 agents, one in the UK and one in America, actually, who repped Australian authors. And the UK agent wanted me to write a completely different book. He wanted me to write a book about nurses, because nurses were so hot at that moment.
Did you hate that? What? Oh, well, I see. Okay,
yeah.
So you wanted a different focus, yeah.
I wanted to write the book I wanted to write.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then the second agent took 6 months to get back to me. And she got all snippy because I'd self-published. But it was 6 months. I mean, it wasn't her fault. Well, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So I decided to self-publish. And I'm really glad I did.
Yes, yeah. I think it's becoming more and more acceptable to self-publish anyway. And I think, if you're willing to put in the work and do all the marketing and publicity for yourself, you can do quite well. So
absolutely. Yeah. And, I've veered between being trade published, self-published. It really depends on what you're writing. Because, of course, as you know, film stuff, you can't self-publish.
No.
Film.
Yeah, I wish you could. Wouldn't that be fun?
Because you can't.
Yeah. And
the distribution, that's the problem.
Yeah. So where can people actually see the film? Is that somewhere available?
It's not, unfortunately. There is just, the trailer on IMDb under my name.
Oh, but yeah, can I put the
film
trailer?
is in Polish.
Oh, okay, so that's not gonna help. But maybe I can put a link to that for people that are interested.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'll send you the link to the IMDb page. Perfect.
And then when you're writing, where do you like to write? Do you like to write in silence? Do you like to have music playing? Do you like to be out and about in a coffee shop, or do you want to be at home? Like, what's your sort of favorite environment for
Well,
writing?
my ideal scenario is home, and I've got two homes. This is my non-permanent home,
Okay.
where I'm here 9 months of the year, and 3 months of the year I'm in England, which is my forever home. So this is a noisy 9-floor apartment, and there's always some restoration, renovation, drilling going on. So I'd love to write in silence, but it never happens.
Wow, so that's quite a...
So I have to sort of work around what's going on in the building.
Yeah, but I mean, 9 months in one place and 3 in the other, and you're doing that every year pretty much?
Yes, I was. Well, we started this adventure again in 2020. And you know what went wrong in 2020?
Yeah, we do.
Well, in Australia, we had a 2-year lockdown.
Yeah.
So my husband's an academic, and he got a job offer, but he, it was too good to turn down. I could only start doing this going backwards and forwards 2 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Once lockdown was over.
Now, do you have a favorite part of your memoir? Is there a favorite sentence? Is there a favorite something in there?
There is indeed, and I'm just going to read it out. The sentence wasn't written by me; it was written by Mum, whose name was Molly, and she was 16 when she wrote it, and she just started work as a secretary in the naval headquarters in Mombasa.
Wow.
So it's, why do people have to be practical and spoil all your nice castles in the air? And for those of your viewers who haven't heard of this expression before, I hope that you'll get what it's about from the extract I'm hoping to be able to read to you shortly.
Well, why don't you just read it to us right now? I think that'd be perfect. If that's
All
okay.
right. Sorry. One of my latest ambitions, if we go back to Hong Kong after the war, is to go home via the Trans-Siberian Railway. I mean to travel all over Europe and then retire in my little cottage in the country. When I relate all these things to Daddy, he looks at me inquiringly and politely asks where all the money for these ventures is coming from, which completely spoils things. Why do people have to be practical and spoil all your nice castles in the air?
That's great. I mean, so she's saying that it's, all your daydreams. You don't want to ruin the dreams. So when she was traveling, was her dad with her?
They weren't. They were separated for 6 months, when the Signal Intelligence Unit moved lock, stock and barrel to East Africa.
Was she traveling alone?
No, with her mother.
Okay.
On a ship.
Got it. Okay.
So it was the two of them together. But it devastated for the family to be split up. They were very, very close knit, and Mum and my grandmother did not want to go, but they were forced to. They were ordered to,
right.
And they couldn't say no.
And your grandfather had to stay behind for a bit longer to probably sort out business stuff for.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, he was obeying orders from the military, basically.
Right.
And they all had to stay behind. In those days, nobody ever questioned anything.
Yeah.
You just did what you were told.
Yeah. I mean, my grandfather actually had a rubber plant, and in Malaya, and he also had to leave at some point, and he was on one of the very last boats that left as well. So that's...
Wow, that's incredible. I probably know where the estate was.
Oh, it was called Jeram, Jeram. But I think that was the name he gave to his plantation. And my sister actually wrote a book about that, by piecing together all of their letters, all the correspondence and she dug around and found newspaper articles and the same kind of thing that you did, loads and loads of research. And it was quite fascinating for me to read, because these are, you know, it's my grandparents. I'm like, oh, they sound amazing, because I don't remember them.
Wow, what's the book called, Nikki? I'll look it up.
It's called Finding Jeram, Jeram. I don't know. I might be pronouncing it wrong. It might be Jeram, or I don't know. But yeah, and
what a coincidence.
She didn't write it to publish it. She just has it as a, like you said, I think you said the same thing. It was more for family and friends. That's how it started. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
wow.
So excuse me. So what advice would you have for other people that are looking to write, and possibly, I mean, it doesn't have to be a memoir. What would you say for people that are interested in writing?
So the crucial thing to find in whatever you're writing is the story. And what I mean by story is the main character's journey from the start to the finish. And that's not the same thing as the plot. Plot is just a series of events. Yep.
And then you have a theme as well. You said it was like the mother-daughter theme.
Yes, I do have that theme. And my other theme in my book is really that it's only when our parents are gone do we discover the individuals they really were. And that's particular for me in my memoirs, because the letters and diaries allowed me to connect to her younger self and follow that through until the age that she had me.
No, that's fantastic. I think that's quite a rare story that you have.
You know,
finding these letters and diaries and things in the past and being able to go and see something now that's, you know, you wouldn't otherwise have no way to know anything about that, right?
No, because I have no one from that generation still alive. Although I did write a piece section, and a reader from South Africa got in touch and said, I was in Hong Kong with your mother, Molly, in the late 1930s. I know. And he's in the book. And I didn't know this then. So that was extraordinary.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful. So what do you have coming up for you next? Are you writing more? Are you working on a film? What are you doing?
Well, I'm currently working on a comedic memoir, which is about basically being an accidental trailing spouse, which is the adventures of me following my husband around the world from pillar to post.
I mean, it is actually quite interesting, because you have to sort of reinvent yourself each time you go somewhere. And I mean, that's not easy.
Absolutely. No, and I know an awful lot of people, you know, it's not just women who are the trailing spouses, of course, it's men too. And, you know, the classic one is the spouse of the Vice President of the United States, the first gentleman, who, you know, had to basically move to Washington.
Yeah.
And so it's a light-hearted look at the phenomena.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic. All right. And is there anything else you want to add? Is there anything you can think of that you want to get out there for the viewers?
I think we've pretty well. I think one of your questions was, what do you hope that you've achieved? So
yes. What do you hope that you've achieved? Yeah.
Okay. So one editorial reviewer remarked, it's a huge, highly readable story about a remarkable life. And I couldn't have asked for a better review.
That is lovely.
And what I wanted to do was solve a mystery that I'd lived, you know, since I was 8, as I told you. And in doing so, I learned not only a lot about Mum, but I learned an awful lot about me as well.
Mm-hmm. That's
So,
fabulous.
you know.
Oh, I know what else I was going to ask you about. What's one of your favorite memoirs?
I've got 2, and I really connected with Cheryl Strayed's Wild,
Okay.
because on one level it's about a walk, but really it's about dealing with grief from the death of her mother.
Yeah, and she was fairly young when that happened
And
too.
that really connected with me.
Yeah.
Going on that walk was her way of letting go of her mother, and my way of letting go of Mum was by writing Castles.
Right. And what was the second one?
The second one was The Diary of Anne Frank, mainly because Mum and Anne were similar ages, and I read this and I just thought how fortunate our family was, as she and Mum were both teenagers caught up in World War II, and I've got books out, memoirs. It was very difficult just to choose 2.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? There's so
Yeah,
many good ones out
absolutely.
there. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Would it be all right to offer one of the viewers a free book?
Absolutely. I'll set that up somehow. Let me
Okay,
think about how I
so
can do that, but I like that. And they'd have to be an ebook, so you just.
we're going to do it. I don't know, but I just thought, yeah, I'll offer that to them. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. All
All
right,
right,
well, thank
lovely.
you so much.